independent in thoughts, and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The 157,000 jobs added in July is certainly nothing to scoff at, though it is below the pace of hiring the labor market has lately been used to. Economists think the slowdown reflects a shortage of qualified workers. The unemployment rate dipped to 3.9%. Job seekers found work in the construction, manufacturing, and healthcare sectors. There were layoffs in hobby, toy, and game stores.
Toys R Us went away. Job numbers are pretty good. They'll revise them probably up 157,000 added. What that means is we're heading into an election. If it continues to move this way, we vote with our pocketbook. Look, if you're on the left and you're reaping some of this benefits as well, it's not like this is what I had this discussion with somebody yesterday. And they act as if only Republicans are benefiting, and Trump supporters in particular are benefiting from the economy. Nobody else is. Nobody else is in a better situation whatsoever. Nobody else is. Nobody else is. Nobody else is benefited at all. It's like they go, oh, we were looking at your voting record. You voted Democrat. You're not allowed to have a tax cut. You voted Democrat. You're not allowed to have a raise. You voted Democrat. You don't get a benefit from any of this. In fact, we're going to hit you with a special Democrat tax. Makes your life tougher. We vote that way. You can say, "Oh, Chad, all you care about is money." No, I'm telling you the truth. Right or wrong, that's up for you to decide. It's funny when you talk about this, how many people attack, especially on the left, always about money. Do you have bills? Yeah. What's the most important thing? You go to work. Why do you go to work? Because you need to make money. You need to make money. Why? Because you like to do things in life. You like to have a house, right? A roof over your head. Feed yourself. You're right. Your husband or your wife, the kids, all of that stuff. They like stuff. They work because they want you to, your kids go to school so they can have a job so you're not supporting them. There's a reason for that, right? So that's why. So whether or not we want it, we say, oh, Chad, it's just wrong that we think. It may be wrong for some people to say that's all we care about is money. But the reality is that is vitally important. It's so funny. Sometimes you sit there and you talk to people. It's like, well, I'm not benefiting from me. They always say that, right? The other side. And that's the sad thing about the way where we are in politics right now. Is it's the other side, right? The other side. It's always about the other side. We've set it up and we've got it to the point where we need the other side to fail for our side to have power. Isn't that a sad thing? That's why I tell everybody, part of the alt middle. What's that mean? We're free agents. The minute an election is over, we're free agents. We hold you accountable, as we should, for the things that you do and don't do. And we realize that many times it's only one politician and they can't change the world, but they can fight for certain things. But that's the way we should look at it. We want our politicians, no matter what side of the aisle are on, to succeed. Unfortunately, this way that things are now in our political world is the other side has to fail anymore. And we want the other side to fail. If you're on one side, you want them to fail. You hope they fail. It's like we go to a game and we're all on the same team, in theory, playing in front of our own crowd, but we want each other to fail because we feel it's going to make our side look bad. And that's a sad thing. John Kasich and Chris Cuomo talked about it. It's very interesting. And when you hear what he says at the end here, we'll talk about it in a second. But I've been preaching. There is a huge opportunity now more so than ever, I think, to have a real establishment in a third party of people who are disenfranchised, who don't look through through glasses that are red or blue, right or left, but they're actually people who have common sense that isn't as common as there should be, and people that are on both sides of the aisle that are disenfranchised feel disenfranchised by the party that's out there.
I become convinced that the solutions to so many of the problems that we have in this country have to be solved where we live. Stop waiting for somebody to come in on a big white horse and solve the problems. Take control of them where you live. Try to address whatever it is, poverty, whether it's the issue of human trafficking, whether it's the issue of drug abuse. It doesn't matter. We have to drive America with a value system where we come together, regardless of party, regardless of philosophy, to have a common purpose and a common goal, and then send that up the stream. Don't wait for the people at the top to fix our problem.
Amen. That's the guy I voted for, by the way. And I have a feeling he's going to make a run at this thing as an independent. And I wouldn't be surprised if he finds another person who feels disenfranchised on the left to run with him, and it could be formidable. I've said, though, politics begins at home, the municipality, the little areas that you live in, right? Doesn't matter where you are. From Seattle to Sacramento, right? From Florida to California, your little area, Tampa, doesn't matter. Jacksonville, doesn't matter. That's where it starts. And the grassroots opportunity to build something here is real. And it begins with us. It absolutely begins with us. And he says something right here that I have been preaching and I've been talking about, which is this, just what I was talking about a second ago, which is this we don't listen to any of the ads that you're hearing playing. A majority of the ads you hear playing during this time of year as we run up into election is what? It's a 30-second ad with 25 seconds of negativity, maybe one little second of something positive that you may bring, and then I approve of this message. Where is it? Hire me, because I'm going to go and do the things that I think should be done. I'm going to work my butt off for you, and I'm not going to make promises out there that are so ridiculous because I'm not a magician. But I can at least give you my honesty and my hard work, which is what you want out there. And instead it's, this person sucks. They're horrible. They're going to take this away. They're going to destroy you. They're coming for this. They're coming for that.
Negative populism doesn't work. Positive populism can. If you sit with 100 people who have difficulty and you blame somebody else, you'll get nothing done. But if you look at them and say, why don't we together build a bridge to a better tomorrow, you can have optimism. And the fact is, rather than people venting so much anger at those up top, why don't we make a commitment to the problems that exist where we live? People think they don't matter enough. Guess what? They do matter.
Yeah, they do. And I love that. I absolutely love what he said right there. And one of the reasons negativity works somewhat is because, as we all know, negativity is so much easier than being positive. Negativity is so easy. It's so easy to point out everybody else's flaws, everybody else's warts, thinking we don't have any. Oh, we do. All of us do. I have them, you have them, we all have them. But negativity is so much easier. And that's the sad thing. And negativity is on both sides of the aisle. Listen to Chuck Schumer. Listen to Nancy Pelosi. Listen to the left. All they do is just tear down, tear down, tear down, tear down, tear down. Perfect example. Blumenthal right now talking about Kavanaugh. He holds an anti-Kavanaugh rally and says, well, I haven't got any paperwork, all the necessary paperwork that I want to see and read from him about some of his stuff that he's done. But he's holding an anti-Kavanaugh rally. And he hasn't got all the stuff that he thinks he needs to sit down and make a serious judgment on him. Come on. It's all negative. Negative, 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 because it's so much easier. You have a bad steak, you're going to tell 10 people. You have a great steak, you'll tell one. Why? For whatever reason, misery loves company, and we like to tell everybody how horrible things go.
Negativity has always been a quick fix in politics. There's nothing new. But boy, is it on fire right now. And I know that you're making a different fight, but you're going to need a lot more to join with you, because the politics of negativity have taken hold right now, and they're doing very well for the president in this regard. His numbers are coming up. Economy is strong.
But you know what, Chris Cuomo? The left lives with negativity. The right lives with negativity. The media lives with negativity. Opportunity now, whether it's locally in a small area, right, where you have a chance to do something, or it's maybe bigger and eventually nationally, I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I do. And I tell you what, it's time. It's time that both, and the thing is, with this opportunity that I think is in front of us, I will tell you this right now. I think it will put both parties on notice, and that to me makes me smile because I think both parties have good ideas, and I think both parties have bad ideas. But we don't know anything about any of their good ideas or them working together and acting like adults because it's all about sound bites about how horrible the other side is.
Wait a minute, Chris. The Republican Party has shrunk from 31 or 33% down to about 28. The politics of negativity is turning people off. They don't want any more of it. So while the numbers are good within the party has shrunk. We're now seeing a drift in both parties, the Democrats being far left. You're seeing more and more independents. Their independents represent disaffected Democrats and disaffected Republicans, and that's what we need to understand. There is a great middle.
There is. And it's the alt middle. And I think we have a louder voice, and we need to start using the voice. Because right now we're standing around while everybody else argues, screams and shouts, talks about how their way is the only way, when the reality is it's not. And we need to make our voice heard. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
The 157,000 jobs added in July is certainly nothing to scoff at, though it is below the pace of hiring the labor market has lately been used to. Economists think the slowdown reflects a shortage of qualified workers. The unemployment rate dipped to 3.9%. Job seekers found work in the construction, manufacturing, and healthcare sectors. There were layoffs in hobby, toy, and game stores.
Jobs were up. That matters. Let's not forget that for just a second. Jobs are up, matters. And the economy is rolling along strong. We've had a strong expansion for almost a decade. The last 2 years, a year and a half in particular, is really ramped up. I'm not going to discredit Obama and what he did. He came in and had a hard job. He could have helped himself a lot more. I think he put too many restrictions on the economy. But he tried to walk the tightrope that he could restrict the economy. He could put all kinds of regulations on, and there would be expansion and tax the hell out of it. That didn't happen. And he could have helped himself, but we're talking about Trump's economy now, and Trump's economy, it's going along. Say what you want about Trump, right? If this economy goes to hell in a handbasket, and he's the reason why this thing goes to hell in a handbasket, the tariffs and all these kind of things, I'm going to be the first one to say this on him. This on him. But right now, I got to say, this is on him. This thing's moving forward, and I think there's going to be more investment into especially small business, the confidence there. So this is looking pretty good, and that's something to think about as we head towards those midterms in November, because we don't want to derail a train that potentially doesn't really need to be fixed. And that's something to think about. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Every single day from Monday to Friday, we throw things at you, like our useless facts and things like that. But we also throw this at you. And I more and more people chime in, and they've got stuff for me. Hey, Chad, try this one. Have you heard this one? I got a listener in Australia who sent me this. This is our urban word of the day via Australia.
It's time for the urban word of the day, fam.
What? Right now?
Time to get a little more hip on the streets.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Urban word of the day.
Socks off, mate. Socks off. Socks off. Like your socks. Essentially what it means, it is the end all to be all of relaxation. A Friday night, a Saturday where your socks are off, your feet are up, and you're relaxing. What are you doing this weekend? Socks off, watching the game. Oh, that might be me a little bit this weekend. Socks off is your Australian version of Urban Word of the Day.
Thank you for saying that in dated urban slang so that I'll understand you.
That there was the Urban Word of the Day. We damn stretched your cranium.
Their lives changed with a last-minute decision to buy tickets. 11 members of an office pool showed up at the California lottery offices in Northern California to claim their prize. The group, refusing to come forward publicly or to say where they work, told the lottery they played on a whim after hearing about the massive jackpot, which they'll now all split. Each put in $2 apiece. They range in age from 21 to 60 years old. Oh, and they say they do plan to keep working.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, I know it sounds weird. Now, you may not want to you may love your job. Why would you want to, why would you quit? My biggest issue, if I'm working somewhere, let's say I've got a regular office job and I win $20, $30, $40, $50 million, right? The biggest issue you're going to have in there, especially if it is a group of people, and not everybody's in that group, is you're going to have tons of animosity. So you might want to look for somewhere else to work. And it sounds horrible, but I've told you over and over again. And if you have friends who have money, you ask them who didn't have money and they all of a sudden work hard. They have a business that explodes. They start to have money. The success comes and all of a sudden they've got a lot of money. You ask them and they'll honestly tell you, you know what? This is who I was before. It just allows me to be more of who I am. More often than not, when things change, it's people around them who are jealous or who want something from them that change far more than the people do. That's the reality of it. But what about stars are different because there's more to it than just money. It's all of the other stuff that you see people change like that. But when people come into money, it's more often than not people around them that change. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. New York Times, what are you doing? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Prosecutors have shifted their focus away from documenting Paul Manafort's lavish lifestyle to delving into his financial records. Now, Manafort's longtime bookkeeper, who was with him for 7 years, alleges that he and his business partner, Rick Gates, attempted to inflate income. Prosecutors argue Manafort illegally lied to banks in order to secure loans when he was strapped for cash.
Microscope. That's what Manafort's under, and his finances. And you know what? One thing I think is going to come out of this is the seediness of these lobbying things that go on. And, now they're delving into the taxes. And I'm sure what they're also going to find is, and some people are going to be frustrated because not everything he's going to be guilty of, and it's going to frustrate people thinking, well, how did he get away with that? Because he paid people who knew what they were doing, who knew exactly where to look inside the tax code to get around certain situations like that. People always laugh. They think you see these big stars, they make all this money, right? And then you find out, well, they pay themselves $1 a year, and then stuff's in trust, and they got money over here, and this pays for that, that pays for this. That's what people do that have a lot of money. They are able to, and people say, oh, they screw the system. No, they don't. They don't screw the system. And that's the thinking that is ridiculous. They use the things that are in place that the system has set up. They just use it better than everybody else does. That's it. You would do the same thing. I would do the same thing. We've all done the same thing. If we have a chance to use something or we have a good tax person and they know, hey, we can do this here. For years, I remember one of the big things, it was Range Rover, right, was one of the things out there where if your car or vehicle weighed over a certain amount, they could count that as a farm vehicle. People were buying Range Rovers because it weighed over the certain amount, and they were able to write a certain part of that off. Electric cars, people buying golf carts because you were getting a $10,000 tax deduction, and it was considered an electric car. So people were getting golf carts for free, essentially. It's ways to use the system that are in place. Frustrates a lot of people. It does. I'm all about a flat tax for everybody, right? Flat tax for everybody. But Chad, the rich need to pay their fair share. They don't get a check on a Friday. They don't. How many people don't get that? They don't get a check on a Friday. They've got money all over the place. They take it when it's needed, where it's needed. The rest of the time, it's tied up in certain situations. It's funny. This to me, some of this stuff is funny, and so they're delving into all of his finances here.
The day began with more testimony from Manafort accountant Philip Aliff, who was involved in preparing Manafort's tax return. Aliff said he made it clear to Manafort that he must report any and all foreign bank accounts to the IRS. The defense is asserting that Manafort filed no tax returns for at least 4 years. The former Trump campaign chairman allegedly made wire transfers from foreign bank accounts in order to avoid scrutiny from the IRS.
Probably. And I bet you they're going to point out he's got the money that, I'm not saying that everything he did was above board, but what you'll find out along the way for a lot of this stuff is some of the stuff he did was above board. And for a lot of people, like, how do people like that get away with it? It's cheating. It's not cheating. The system's set up. The codes are so vast. You've got big money. People, when you get to this point, you literally have a guy that's working for you almost on a full-time basis who knows everything they need to know about saving you every penny they possibly can save you and ways around it. It's not illegal if the system's set up that way and they use what's in the system. If they go outside the system, that's one thing. And I'm sure we'll learn more about this over the coming weeks. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. So the New York Times hired Sarah Jeong, I think her name is. I probably said it wrong and probably racist that I did. And there are some issues with her. In particular, things she has tweeted in the past. And not nice things about white people and her hatred of white people. And the New York Times has hired her to be a tech writer. And it's come to light. They knew about it before. They've spoken to her, I guess, about it. And it's funny to watch everybody on either side start to fight over something that she wrote, right? That she wrote. The left is coming out and saying, well, she's an Asian American woman, so because of that, you've got to give her some slack, and she's had it tough in her life, and white people have benefited from that. But I just said, till we can come, I'm never gonna. When I'm going to look at us and say, okay, the field is level now, right? Is when we can start taking full accountability and responsibility for our actions. That, to me, is what I'm looking for. Well, what about, and then in the past, I don't care about the past. I don't care. The past is exactly that. It's behind. The future's forward. The past is behind. Holding people, especially white men, accountable for things that people did long before they were born. And I'm talking about in a group here. To people that were awful long before other people were born is ridiculous. At some point in time, we need to say, look, going forward, this is what it is. All right? We're in this thing together. We're not black, we're not white, we're not gay, we're not straight, we're Americans, and we're moving forward. And you can't, because everybody wants to identify with something. It's got to identify with something. What are you? But what are you? But no, but what are you? So listen to some of the things that she has tweeted out. And they're far worse. This is just a few of the things that Tucker touches on. And I'll tell you a funny side note on some of the things that she's tweeted out as well that's going to make things even more uncomfortable inside the New York Times editorial rooms.
Yesterday, the Times announced it was hiring a woman called Sarah Zhang to write about technology for the paper. Within hours, readers discovered Zhang's Twitter feed, which she had not bothered to delete, apparently because she was not embarrassed by it. Judging by what she wrote on Twitter, Sarah Zhang is an angry bigot, and not in a subtle way. Here are some examples of her tweets. Quote, "Oh man, it's kind of sick how much joy I get out of being cruel to old white men." Another, quote, "Dumbass effing white people marking up the internet with their opinions like dogs peeing on fire hydrants." Another, quote, "Hashtag cancel white people."
She said a lot of other things that were horrible, about can't wait for them to disappear and things of that nature. And you know what? It is what it is. All right. People get and for the right, you don't know who she is for all intents and purposes. You probably didn't read any of her tech stuff that she writes about. Secondly, you don't read the New York Times anyways. So you being upset, and mostly it's because you feel this is hypocrisy. And there is a bit of hypocrisy there. To me, I look at the New York Times and I say, you know what? You guys have failed. You had a chance here to say, we're the New York Times. We're better than this. And as I said yesterday and continue to say, Twitter is now part of the resume of your life. So be careful. Be careful. Some of the other things. Now, here's something that will make you laugh. So she also tweeted about Paul Krugman, Friedman, and many of the other guys there who work at the New York Times, who are big journalists, who are some celebrity journalists at this point in time, who spend as much time in front of the camera as they do writing stories anymore, about how stupid they were, what kind of drugs they were on, why won't they shut up? So it's going to be interesting going forward when you're sitting in that editorial room and you have to look over at somebody who you said needs to have their mouth essentially sewn shut. Why won't, Tom Friedman ever shut up? Paul Krugman, I want to know what kind of drugs he does. Things like this. He's going to look over and he's going to, But this is my frustration with the New York Times and when you listen to their explanation of why essentially they're not getting rid of her. This is because I subscribe to the New York Times and about 50 other publications that I have to as part of what I do here. This said everything I needed to know about the New York Times.
Well, people are getting fired for far less than this across corporate America right now, but the New York Times decided to double down on Sarah Zhang's behalf. Here's part of the statement the paper sent out about her. Quote, "Zhang's journalism and the fact she is a young Asian woman have made her a subject of frequent online harassment. For a period of time, she responded to that harassment by imitating the rhetoric of her harassers. In other words, it's not her fault. White racism caused Sarah Zhang's racism against white people. She's the victim here. Harvard graduate, oppressed person that she is."
Yeah, and she had some stuff about police and killing police. I mean, they have failed, I think, to send a statement that they should have. And the reality is they, like so many others out there, figure out how they could take the person who's done something wrong and make sure that any responsibility or accountability that they should take is taken away by making them a victim. And that's essentially what they did. Essentially, they said, well, because so-and-so said something to her, she lashed out. And if you read some of these tweets, I'm not saying there's not trolls out there. Don't say horrible things. And since people have heard this story that they've gone out and attacked her, absolutely, because people are clowns. And there's plenty of ass clowns out there that they attack me for no reason, for God's sakes. I had a tweet at me last night, or a text message at me last night, that started with a blankety blank you, and then told me what's wrong with me. they just didn't agree with something I said. That's how you say something? Hey, I don't agree with you. So blankety blank, blankety blank. I get it. I never respond. They're trolls. People take the opportunity because they feel they have a voice to attack things. But the fact is, when you victimize everybody, you take away accountability and responsibility. That right there is where equality is going to come in. Accountability and responsibility for oneself. They failed in doing that, New York Times. And while I like some of the writers they have, the reality is, at this point in time, I believe they've completely sold out and lost the plot. And I don't think that's good. I don't think it's good, because it's good to have good journalists. But when you have a group like this, they've sold out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet about me. Whether you hate me or not, I'm okay with either or. People say, does it bug you? The what? The people? No. What? No. Because at some point in time, you just have to say, eh. Like, you know, I tweet so very little, and I tweet a little bit more. Like, I'm excited about, I tweet about Live PD tonight because my favorite show is Live PD, and one of my favorite reasons I love Live PD, because my favorite question is, how many of you had tonight? And the answer is always, I've had 2. But I don't tweet that much anymore, and the negativity's there. And when I do tweet, the reality is and you see it. It's how things are perceived. You know, how things are perceived in this world, and what people can use as these tools. And it's given people a voice. And rather than use a voice for common sense and trying to further conversations, people decide, we're going to just attack the hell out of you. And that to me is ridiculous. 323-538-2423. Saying that at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. I try to answer as many people as possible. All right. I try to do the best I possibly can. ZipRecruiter.com/Benson is amazing. So employment is great. That means trying to find the right hire is getting tougher. But ZipRecruiter.com/Benson get you the opportunity to sign up for free today and post your job. Here's what ZipRecruiter does. First, they send out your job to over 100 plus of the web's leading job boards. And then they have the powerful matching technology, all right? So what they do is they scan through all these resumes, thousands of resumes, and they're going to find the people with the right experience. They're going to invite them to apply to your job. Then they will. And then they're going to highlight all those resumes and say, okay, here's the thing. All these people applied. They're all really good, but these 3 right here, these are the ones. So you're never going to miss a great match. ZipRecruiter is so effective that 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. Boom. Gotta love that. With results like that, it's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the highest rated hiring site in America. Right now, like I said, go to ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. You can post your job for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/BENSON. ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
It's going to be close.
What to do indeed.
Christopher Robin should be the top new opening this weekend, looking at maybe $30 million for the Disney film, but also looking at $30 million week 2 for Mission Impossible Fallout. Those two will compete for the top spot, likely leaving third place.
Want to die having never been to Europe? Or do you want to go to Europe and die having been to Europe?
To the Mila Kunis, Kate McKinnon action comedy The Spy Who Dumped Me, which is looking at maybe $13 million. Also opening the sci-fi thriller The Darkest Minds, which looks like a bomb in the $5 million range.
A bomb! I saw that last night. Wasn't awful. Don't think it's going to do anything, any real money. It's too many kids' movies out like this. You're so late to the game with stuff like this, right? We've had all of these kids' movies, these teenage movies from just the vampire and werewolf movie. I forgot what that movie was called. With the vampires and werewolves that fought, and it's the X-Men kids, and I just it was okay. It wasn't awful. But this weekend, you can tell now, it's summer's done. Kids are going back to school. Summer's over. They'll roll out the stuff they thought might have been hits, like a year ago when they were doing them, and then they said, nah, you know what? It's not testing well. We'll throw these in the back end of the year, summer movie time. And now you're not going to see anything. Really, you're going to see some stuff trickle out here or there. The Black Klansman opens up next week, Spike Lee movie. That looks really, really interesting based on a true story. And then you'll start to see some horror movies. The Nun's coming out in a couple weeks. That looks really interesting. That's a spinoff from the Conjuring movies. And you've got a couple other movies that are coming out that look, as they get ready for Halloween. And then you've got the Christmas time movies, which of course are always big. The next slate of big films, and we'll start getting those Oscar movies. The ones that people are like, this is a great acting movie, but 8 people saw it. Oh. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Somebody else said, because I said my favorite line in Live PD is I only had 2 beers. Somebody else said the other favorite line is, it's not mine. So true. It's not mine. How many people shouldn't be driving because they don't have a license but drive anyway? Too many. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The 157,000 jobs added in July is certainly nothing to scoff at, though it is below the pace of hiring the labor market has lately been used to. Economists think the slowdown reflects a shortage of qualified workers. The unemployment rate dipped to 3.9%. Job seekers found work in the construction, manufacturing, and healthcare sectors. There were layoffs in hobby, toy, and game stores.
Yeah. There's a reason for that. Toys R Us, obviously going out of business, definitely did not help. And when you look around, there is a shortage. Now, 3.9, so you're probably looking at, 6% unemployment? We're pretty much at full employment right now. That's amazing. Mark Hammrick's going to join us a little bit later. He's from Bankrate.com. He's going to break it down for us. But from a political side of things, right? Because that's why this is important for the Republicans. From a political side of things, you got to take it. You got to love it. You got to have a smile on your face right now because it's good. 3.9. Good. Absolutely fantastic. You can have a smile on your you can look at Trump and you may say, I hate Trump. He's a horrible person, blah, 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 whatever it is. I'm okay with that. But this is his economy. This is his. Well, the numbers weren't as good as they should, but no, they weren't. And they'll revise them, and chances are it'll be up. Now, the politics side of it all is what happens come November, right? So come November, if we're still moving at a good clip, if the tariffs haven't really derailed the economy, how many people are willing to throw that out? And when I talk about this, people say, you only care about money. I'm one voter. You don't shoot the messenger. I'm one voter. That's it. One voter. One voter. We still vote with our pocketbook in this country, whether people want to believe that it's always about the money. Yes. The reality is it's always about the money. Because people need money to survive. People need employment to survive. People need a roof over their head. They need food on their table. They need that. Just the necessities. They don't come for free. So yes, they do need it. So I'm curious to see, because normally in midterms, right? So midterms roll in here, and the party in power And a party in power that has everything, all right? Of course, its own separate thing. But I'm talking about they got the House, they got the Senate, and they have the White House. They got it all. Normally, we as a nation say, you got too much power. We're going to rein you in a little bit here. And midterms like this become somewhat of a bit of a slaughter. But the economy's rolling. And people are going to say to themselves, what if we go hard and change the House and the Senate? Then they start impeaching Trump, and maybe it does happen, and maybe it does happen, and then everything goes sideways. People start to panic. The stock market crashes. Oh, geez. And here's something to think about. I want everybody to think about this for a second. At some point in time, we're going to have a slowdown, right? At some point in time, we're going to have a slowdown because we've had 10 years of economic expansion, right? We had that horrific, almost depression. We climbed out of that. Obama didn't do, I think, enough. And I think he over-restricted the marketplace. And instead of taking the shackles and chains off the economy and revving up the engine and turning it loose, he restricted it more. And he could have done more, but is what it is. That's what Trump has done. But think about this for just a second. So let's say the House, anything can happen. It's the Dems. The Senate, it's the Dems. And the talk of impeachment. The talk of impeachment. And then they try it and it doesn't really come off. It doesn't work. It's all they go and they try to repeal and they try to do all of these things and they just over and over again and the economy starts to stutter and falls. And you've given Trump everything he's wanted in the sense that he can go, you guys, look what you've done. You guys have when it was me and the Republicans, we were rolling, and then you get in here and you did this, and then you tried to, oh my God, and you've done all this stuff, and look at what you've done now. And in 2020, he said, with me for 2 years, we were rocking. They came in, destroyed it. You want that, or you want what I gave you originally? And if you hear Rudy Giuliani talk, right, if you hear him talk, this is the vote for Trump's presidency. That's what he's essentially saying is he's going to get impeached if you don't keep the Republicans in power. Oh. But yes, people still vote with their pocketbooks, not just Chad. And I'm an a la carte voter. I look at every issue. I look at every person. I weigh the good with the bad. Not what somebody says about somebody, but actually, hey, I look and say, I wasn't thrilled by this or this, and a lot of times, especially in lower races, you don't know. What you get is kind of what you get. But in the bigger races and stuff, you kind of know what you're getting. It's going to be very interesting because I think a lot of people are going to get in there. And they're going to say to themselves, oh, God, I don't like Trump. But I do like my 401k here. I don't like Trump. But I quit my old job and I'm making 40% more at my new job. I don't like Trump. But check for whatever Republican. That's going to play big. We'll see what the resistance is able to mount. But if they get in and they have the power and they start maybe impeachment, I mean, you hear the I word, right? Like Maxine Waters has been sent from God to single-handedly slay the demon that is Trump. And at the same time, they're talking about let's get rid of these tax, breaks, let's and all of this stuff. And What do you think that's going to do to the economy? Curious. Well, it's not really helping anybody now. Is it? Only the rich are getting richer. I'm so over that. So we'll see. The economy numbers right now are good. But coming into this election, there's going to be a lot riding on it. A lot more than people think. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us if you will. Hope you're doing well on this beautiful Friday. AMAC, I partner with AMAC, and they're amazing. Now, if you don't know who AMAC is, Association, right, of Mature American Citizens. AMAC. So they lobby on your behalf as an organization for things like Social Security reform, repeal and replace of Obamacare, common sense reform for things like immigration. But on top of that, they have member benefits that benefit you in ways that you just, I don't even think you realize how amazing it is. 40% off movie tickets. Boom! How about that? 40% off parks that are awesome. Parks? Yeah. Like amusement parks. SeaWorld, Legoland, Six Flags, Disneyland, Disney World, just to name a few. Travel, hotel, restaurant, retail, discounts like you could not believe. All they ask you to do is be over 50, and the deal I worked out with them is you get to join for free. Free costs nothing. Free, 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 free. No gimmick, no tricks, none of that stuff. You join for free. That's it. They're not going to ask you for your credit card. All you have to do is be over 50. This is what I want you to do. Go to amac.us/Chad. That's .us/Chad. Simple as that. amac.us/Chad. Or you can do it old school and call them on the phone. 888-355-1668. That's 888-355-1668 or online at amac.us/Chad. You're going to love it, and you're going to love the benefits. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Hashtag me too. Hashtag immigration reforms. Hashtag help. I'm trapped in a hashtag factory and I can't get out. The Chad Benson Show.
In a statement, Urban Meyer says he's been portrayed as someone who's indifferent to domestic violence and who did not take appropriate action when warranted. But Meyer says he's always followed proper reporting protocols. He admits he failed to be clear and compassionate when answering a question at Big Ten Media Day of his knowledge of alleged abuse by former wide receiver coach Zach Smith. Meyer adding that though he failed in his words, he's confident that he took appropriate action.
Ooh, it's getting ugly. And look, rarely when you're put on administrative leave are you brought back. And here's one of the, arguably the second most powerful coach in college football. And he's been put on administrative leave because of a wide receivers coach who abused his then wife, allegedly. And it's funny, somebody sent me yesterday because this guy, Zach Smith, who pushed his then pregnant wife in 2009. Another incident in 2015. The police came. She got a restraining order. She filed for divorce. They're divorced now. There's lots of text messages, lots of pictures, and Zach Smith, the first time, everything seemed to be followed the right way when he was at Florida. When it Ohio State happened in 2015, it didn't quite go the way that a lot of people thought it was supposed to go because he somewhat denied it. Zach Smith, like whether or not this actually happened in 2015, because in this day and age, there's zero tolerance anywhere for violence against women. I've always thought in this day and age, when I hear people say that, I thought any day and age it should have been that way. But hey, whatever, I guess maybe the 80s and 90s, I learned something else that was ahead of the time. So during Media Day, Urban Meyers asked the question about Zach Smith and what happened, what was the timeline. They break this thing down.
I am going to address the 2009 because I've been asked about that. 2009, Zach was an intern, a very young couple. As I do any time that I imagine most coaches or people in leadership positions, you receive a phone call, first thing you do is tell your boss, let the experts do their jobs. We're certainly not going to investigate. It came back to me that what was reported wasn't actually what happened, and so Shelley and I actually both got involved because of our relationship with that family and advised for counseling and wanted to help as we move forward.
Now, Zach Smith is speaking out about this. In the process, he did everything he was supposed to do. Urban Meyer in 2009, when he was with Florida, did everything he was supposed to do. And this is the way that things should play out. You're in a situation, I mean, it's your coaches, you're not quite sure. It's 2009, obviously, no Me Too, different climate, but you do the right thing. You report the incident and then let the incident go from there is the way it kind of went out. And it's very interesting what he's coming out and saying, especially about the helping me part, because there's text messages between, Zach Smith's wife and the wife of Urban Meyer and all kinds of things like that. And he's coming out and he's talking today, Zach Smith, which is another one of those things where I can't believe he's coming out and talking.
I just mean he wasn't going to fire me over it because he let due process take its course. He didn't necessarily try to help me. He just let due process run its course and let it be investigated and then wait and see the facts as opposed to making a rash judgment to do something based off of an accusation or a situation that might not have been what that situation was.
And I saw the pictures. I've read some of his text messages to her after the incident. So, he probably should have been gone, and he wasn't. And in 2015, it happened again, and it didn't follow the chain of command that it should have followed. And Urban kind of swept it, I guess, a bit underneath the rug by the sounds of it. And you can't do that nowadays. You should never have done it, but you really can't do it nowadays. First, you have Title IX. And now you've got the Me Too, and you have all of this stuff, and the university. Let me tell you about these big universities. Alabama is a perfect example. Everybody's like, God, they're paying him $8 million a year to coach football at Alabama. That is ridiculous. He's added, Alabama has gotten, since he's gotten there, Nick Saban, because football's exploded, and he's made it a name again, they've added enrollments up 13,000 kids a year. Big money. So they're willing to pay these guys big money. And they want excellence. And a lot of times they're willing to turn their backs on certain situations. A kid gets in trouble. But Ohio State's not one of those. And they've got to figure out what to do because they're winning. And they're third in preseason rankings. Chance of them being in the playoffs and maybe playing for a national championship is real. And you've got this. He just signed a new contract, too, that has wording in there that protects them for incidents, particularly things like this Title IX, which this may or may not be. When you usually go on paid leave like this, it's they're trying to figure out how do we get out of this where it doesn't cost us money. Gonna be interesting. Then the money's so big. I think he's signed a new $40 million contract. What were you thinking? Over a wide receivers coach who's a horrible human being by all accounts, at least when it comes to women. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show was your Twitter. The man with the golden pipes who talks about the financial and economic world from Bankrate.com. Mark Hammrick joins us straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The 157,000 jobs added in July is certainly nothing to scoff at, though it is below the pace of hiring the labor market has lately been used to. Economists think the slowdown reflects a shortage of qualified workers. The unemployment rate dipped to 3.9%. Job seekers found work in the construction, manufacturing, and healthcare sectors. There were layoffs in hobby, toy, and game stores.
Yeah, Toys R Us, that didn't help at all. Joining us now, the man with the golden pipes, but also the golden brain, understands it, breaks it down for us. Mark Hammrick, bankrate.com. And Mark, let's start with the bad. If people were to look at this, they'd say, well, because that's what the left is going to do, because this is the way we view things now through the left and the right. People are going to come out and say, below pace, didn't look as really good as we thought it was going to look. Would they have a leg to stand on there?
It's hard for me to really sort of align myself and understand with any empathy either of the political extremes these days. But I just, politically agnostic as I am, I think that on balance, this is a respectable report. Sort of mathematically, the first number you see is the payroll gains, which is 157,000. And if you only looked at that and then went on to the next thing on your phone, something else, then you'd miss the fact that there were revisions in the previous 2 months, which essentially make up the difference in what we got in the latest month and matching the expectations. But, broader picture, the U.S. economy obviously performed very well in the second quarter, growth of 4.1%. It's probably going to be the high point for the year, but as we end the year, barring the truly unforeseeable or unforeseen, we'll probably average 3% growth this year, and that's quite respectable.
I think it is quite respectable. I really do. And nowadays, you're a political agnostic. I'm part of the alt middle. I look here and, we look now, Mark, everything in the world anymore, especially when it comes to this president, is looked at in one way or another. The expansion's been going on for 10 years now. People are waiting for the dip. Some people on the left are hoping for the dip. You've heard the likes of, even some, Bill Maher comes out and says the only thing that we can hope for is that the economy crashes, and they blame it on Trump. And I'm thinking to myself, who would want something like that? But it's inevitable. We're going to have a slowdown at some point in time, but I don't think it's happening at least this year.
Not based on what we're seeing right now. God forbid there can always be an event that precipitates a recession, but we don't see that right now. And I think realistically speaking, since we're sort of baking in or juicing the economy to a certain extent right now through the tax cut, we know that the benefits of that begin to weaken a little bit in 2019 and then basically go away in 2020. And that's why the consensus among economists basically is that if you have to pinpoint a start for the recession, keeping in mind that we're typically pretty horrendous at predicting such things, 2020 is a good place to look. Interesting that it does coincide with, obviously, an election year. I don't know that anybody really wants to be cheering for a recession at this point, and leaving the political dynamic aside, it is true that we're already into this economic expansion to the tune of 9 years. We're already sort of the second longest since the end of World War II. So just from a longevity standpoint, when you're long in the tooth, you shouldn't be, let's say, thinking that, what are you going to do for the next 100 years, right? So it's reasonable to expect that the economy does begin to lose some momentum either right now or next year or in 2020.
Talking to Mark Hammrick, bankrate.com. We talked to him this time of the month when we talk about the economy, which we still vote with our pocketbooks. We think with our pocketbooks. We can, all the other stuff aside, this is what we do. Tariffs are going to be interesting to see what happens. Larry Kudlow came out today and says don't bet against Trump when it comes to tariffs. When are we going to start to see that effect? Because a lot of people looked at the GDP, and they think, well, some of that was baked in, if you will, because you had so many people that were just dumping their soybeans in particular and putting things out there. But when will we start to really see it and potentially feel in certain sectors the tariffs?
Well, I would suggest that we're seeing it quite a bit right now. It's not showing up in the sense of discernible impacts on the employment report, but you can look at all kinds of sectors of the economy where it's having an impact. The cost of building a new home is up by $9,000 because of, and that's the average home, obviously more expensive in certain markets. That's the impact of tariffs on Canadian lumber, which is a primary source for new home construction. Both Ford and GM and also Fiat Chrysler have all said that their earnings outlooks are hurt by the rising costs of steel and aluminum. newspaper printing, although some might say, that's an industry which is time challenged anyway. But newspaper printing itself is being hurt by a 30 to 40% increase in the current cost of newsprint. And as you say, soybeans, which are the primary agriculture export in this country, have seen a huge hit in the sense of price also. So these are not theoretical things. These are things that are happening right now. And so I would say that that is feeding into a difficulty for business to plan. It adds to business uncertainty. And we've also seen business leaders surveyed by economists who are saying that these impacts are forcing them, and it's not the majority. It's let's say a 20% kind of a number right now. 20% of business leaders are saying that they're cutting their plans for investment because of the trade impacts. So with that and the possible damage to the global economy, the outlook for the global economy is worse now than it was a year ago. Those things can weigh on U.S. manufacturing, which is right now enjoying something of a renaissance, although it's not one that's reliant on labor the way it was before. Technology is much more important.
Talking to the man with the golden pipes from Bankrate.com, Mark Hammrick. We talked about the negative. Is there positives in the tariffs? Are we starting to see some sectors themselves, though, probably benefit off that? I would assume so the steel manufacturers have to have a smile on their face. But this can't be long term. I don't think there's no way. To me, I always thought it's a negotiating ploy, adding the billions of dollars of tariffs, and the Chinese come back and they add billions, and the Canada and the whole nine yards. This can't be something that's sustained, that's going to work for us long term or work for them, is it?
Well, it's hard to say because it's not a negotiating tactic that's ever been used before. But, you can use, for example, the highly unpopular TPP trade deal, which was essentially created with all of the Asia trading partners except for China, which was seen as a way of answering China by having more robust trading relationships with everybody else. It wasn't popular among Democrats, and obviously the president sort of trying to feed from that political marketplace, so to speak, with the sort of disenfranchised, chose not to go along with that trade pact, which wasn't going to be approved by Congress anyway, even though President Obama was an advocate for it, which was, an interesting place for him to be. But my point is that there were trading relationships that would have added to U.S. trade that the administration decided to pull out of for any number of different reasons, some of which are actually ultimately hard to understand. So, the president obviously sees himself as a deal maker. That's his reputation. And this is basically a Hail Mary pass now as we start the NFL preseason. And we can hope that there is a global resolution to all this. But right now we haven't seen it. And so I'm not personally going to forecast that all of a sudden there's going to be an acceleration in global trade or U.S. trade simply because the administration has made this a priority, because we have yet to see that it's resulted in any tangible trade agreements. We know there was a sort of photo op thing with the head of the European Union a couple of weeks ago, and that seemed to represent the broad framework of something. But so didn't the North Korean photo op and so-called summit, where we have yet to see palpable results from that framework as well. So hey, we're all, I think, cheering for the United States of America. We just want to see results, and I don't have results to show for it just yet. So I'm not going to say that come Monday it's going to be much better.
Last question. Appreciate you coming on, as you always do, this time of the month, talking to Mark Hammrick at Bankrate.com. What sectors are doing well? Like if you're a job seeker right now, because we're almost at full unemployment, was it 3.9%? You look out there and you say to yourself, okay, what sectors are there right now where we're really, if you're an employee, if you will, a worker, you really have your choice of places and opportunities?
Well, first of all, if we speak broadly, just for people who are college educated, they've got about a 50% better chance of being employed than those who aren't. And so that's the first place to start. But elsewhere, there are literally worker shortages being reported among, for example, highly skilled engineered, sort of specialized construction workers, also in manufacturing, for IT professionals. And one area that is always interesting because, this is a different lifestyle and a lot of hard work, truck drivers are really having an acute talent shortage. So there's all kinds of work out there, and it's for both people who are college educated and not. And, it's a good time to be a worker to look for work.
Yeah, it is. And, one thing I did want to ask is, this Ocasio-Cortez, I'm sure you know who she is. She's out there talking about, look at unemployment's fake. These numbers are fake. People are working 2, 3, 4 jobs. That's how unemployment numbers are down. And I laugh about that because that's not the way that they factor in unemployment and full employment is people with 2 or 3 jobs. Some people are underemployed. But, most people are like, well, isn't she telling the truth? And I'm like, no, she's not. She's not telling the truth about those kind of unemployment numbers.
Well, it's not the first person to say that there's a conspiracy to take on a point of view that might be different from one's own, right? So, that seems to be sort of the age in which we live. But I'll put it in another perspective, and that is the people who are creating this data consult with the private sector on an ongoing basis, meaning people in business and in the financial markets. The list goes on and on. So they're doing their best, and I'm quite confident that they do as good a job as possible to come up with good data. There's no conspiracy to hide what's going on. There probably are some oversights occasionally in their reporting of it among those of us in the media. But, for example, on the question of underemployment, leaving aside those who've given up looking for work entirely, but those who are working, this is a number that we've been measuring all along. The number of people who are working part-time that would like to have full-time work has now declined to under 5 million. At around the time of the recession and for a few years afterward, it was 10 million. So that number has declined. And by the way, everything that I've seen recently suggests that all this enthusiasm around the so-called gig economy is often a lot of hype, meaning, and, hey, I take Uber as much as the next person, as well as regular taxis. It's more often used to supplement incomes than it is to sort of actually create a sustainable one. And our data at Bankrate found, for example, that most people who were taking part in the gig economy were only doing so, let's say, on an irregular basis. It wasn't sort of a 40-hour-a-week pursuit. So I think most of us are still reliant on full-time work.
Yeah, I love it, man. Love having you on. You break it down, and you do it in such a smooth way. Mark Hammrick, Bankrate.com. You have yourself a good weekend, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
You're too kind, Chad. I do appreciate it. It's always a lot of fun. Have a good one.
You too. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. Speaking of employment, you are an employer. You just heard the numbers. You got to find the right employee. What are you going to do, kids? You look around, you're like, I don't know. I've been doing the same thing. I'm not getting the results I need. ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. That's all you need to know about where you're going to start. But let me tell you a little bit of what you get with ZipRecruiter. Ooh, Chad, speak it. I'm going to. First, you post your job on ZipRecruiter, 100+ of the web's leading job boards. Boom! Oh, but it doesn't end there. They got smart matching technology. What they're going to do is they're going to go out there, they're going to look, and they're going to, invite the best candidates out there. You'll start to getting resumes, but then they're going to do something even more. That right there alone is amazing. They're going to highlight the best of the best out there just for you. Oh, ZipRecruiter is so effective. Get ready for this, kids. So effective. 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. You could post today and by Monday say, I'm hiring this person, and away you go. Are you ready for that? With results like that, it's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the highest rated hiring site in America. What did I tell you that site was again? ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. Let me tell you this. Post your job for free right now. Free. ZipRecruiter.com/BENSON. ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. Post your job for free. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Are you PC and groupthink brainwashed? Time for a double detox shot of Chad.
I'm not any of those, kids. Just thought I'd let you know. I'm not PC or groupthink brainwashed. Are you? 60% of cats tips the scales at an unhealthy weight, slightly more than 56% of dogs. And it's not good for them, but they love it. They love it. Oh, chat. And this is what I love, right? This is an article in the New York Times, and could be a racist article. I don't know. Shows a picture of Max, right? He's slightly overweight. He's 15-year-old Maine Coon, but he's having trouble jumping onto things. First of all, he's 15 years old, so he's an older cat. He's not a kitten that's fat that has trouble. He's older. I'm 47. I feel great. I'm in pretty decent shape. It's 108 today. I played golf at lunch every day. Walk at least 7 miles a day. Feel good. Play soccer once a week. Pretty good shape. I can't jump like I used to. Right? Because I'm older. But he looks happy. Right? We love our cats, so we spoil them. We love our dogs, so we spoil them. My lizards are fat. They're not good at jumping. Winston's awful at jumping. He thinks he's good at it, but he's a lizard, and he's a ground iguana. It's the way they would, a Cuban ground iguana, rock iguana, because he's on the ground. My other lizards, they look like they're supposed to. Two of them, Brady and Gronk, quite frankly, they're large. Probably a little bit overweight, but they only get fresh food. But they're lazy. We love to make our animals fat. Is it wrong? Probably. But isn't it nice? And a fat, funny kitty makes me laugh. Chad, you just... Let's just all breathe. All right? But America, we have a weight problem, not just with ourselves. If we're honest, we have a weight problem with our animals. And that's a reflection of who we are. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I watched Garfield the other night. He had a weight problem, but he's cute. Right? And he likes lasagna, right? Isn't he the one who eats lasagna? Makes me laugh. It does. You know what also makes me smile? Making money. That's what common sense does for you. And common sense says, hey, cryptocurrencies are interesting. They're money makers. How do I get involved in them? I'll tell you how. Tiki Tuari, Palm Beach Letter, has put together an amazing course for my listeners that are going to help you in every way, shape, or form learn how to trade and make money off of cryptocurrencies. Don't be afraid. Learn, then earn. It's that simple. I'll tell you how to do it. Are you ready for this? You guys writing this down? AmazingCryptoClass.com. AmazingCryptoClass.com. You're going to learn everything you need to know how to make an educated decision to diversify your portfolio. You should have a little bit of money in all kinds of things, and this is one of them. Everybody should have at least $100 into something like this. The opportunity to make money is here. It's real. AmazingCryptoClass.com. AmazingCryptoClass.com. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. You text the program as well. 323-538-2423. God, it's beautiful because it's Friday, people. It's Friday. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The 157,000 jobs added in July is certainly nothing to scoff at, though it is below the pace of hiring the labor market has lately been used to. Economists think the slowdown reflects a shortage of qualified workers. The unemployment rate dipped to 3.9%. Job seekers found work in the construction, manufacturing, and healthcare sectors. There were layoffs in hobby, toy, and game stores.
Toys R Us went away. Job numbers are pretty good. They'll revise them probably up. 157,000 added. What that means is we're heading into an election. If it continues to move this way, we vote with our pocketbook. Look, if you're on the left and you're reaping some of this benefits as well, it's not like this is. I had this discussion with somebody yesterday, and they act as if only Republicans are benefiting, and Trump supporters in particular are benefiting from the economy. Nobody else is. Nobody else is in a better situation whatsoever. Nobody else is. Nobody else is. Nobody else is benefited at all. It's like they go, oh, we were looking at your voting record. You voted Democrat. You're not allowed to have a tax cut. You voted Democrat. You're not allowed to have a raise. You voted Democrat. You don't get a benefit from any of this. In fact, we're going to hit you with a special Democrat tax. Makes your life tougher. We vote that way. You can say, "Oh, Chad, all you care about is money." No, I'm telling you the truth. Right or wrong, that's up for you to decide. It's funny when you talk about this, how many people attack, especially on the left, always about money. Do you have bills? Yeah. What's the most important thing? You go to work. Why do you go to work? Because you need to make money. You need to make money. Why? Because you like to do things in life. You like to have a house, right? A roof over your head. Feed yourself, right? Your husband or your wife, the kids, all of that stuff. They like stuff. They work because they want you to, your kids go to school so they can have a job so you're not supporting them. There's a reason for that, right? So that's why. So whether or not we want it, we say, oh, Chad, it's just wrong that we think. It may be wrong for some people to say that's all we care about is money, but the reality is that is vitally important. It's so funny. Sometimes you sit there and you talk to people. It's like, well, I'm not benefiting from me. They always say that, right? The other side. And that's the sad thing about the way where we are in politics right now. Is it's the other side, right? The other side. It's always about the other side. We've set it up and we've got it to the point where we need the other side to fail for our side to have power. Isn't that a sad thing? That's why I tell everybody, part of the alt-middle. What's that mean? We're free agents. The minute an election is over, we're free agents. We hold you accountable, as we should, for the things that you do and don't do. And we realize that many times it's only one politician and they can't change the world, but they can fight for certain things. But that's the way we should look at it. We want our politicians, no matter what side of the aisle are on, to succeed. Unfortunately, this way that things are now in our political world is the other side has to fail anymore. And we want the other side to fail. If you're on one side, you want them to fail. You hope they fail. It's like we go to a game and we're all on the same team, in theory, playing in front of our own crowd, but we want each other to fail because we feel it's going to make our side look bad. And that's a sad thing. John Kasich and Chris Cuomo talked about it. It's very interesting. And when you hear what he says at the end here, we'll talk about in a second. But I've been preaching. There is a huge opportunity now more so than ever, I think, to have a real establishment in a third party of people who are disenfranchised, who don't look through through glasses that are red or blue, right or left, but they're actually people who have common sense that isn't as common as there should be, and people that are on both sides of the aisle that are disenfranchised, feel disenfranchised by the party that's out there.
I become convinced that the solutions to so many of the problems that we have in this country have to be solved where we live. Stop waiting for somebody to come in on a big white horse and solve the problems. Take control of them where you live. Try to address whatever it is, poverty, whether it's the issue of human trafficking, whether it's the issue of drug abuse. It doesn't matter. We have to drive America with a value system where we come together, regardless of party, regardless of philosophy, to have a common purpose and a common goal, and then send that up the stream. Don't wait for the people at the top to fix our problem.
Amen. That's the guy I voted for, by the way. And I have a feeling he's going to make a run at this thing as an independent. And I wouldn't be surprised if he finds another person who feels disenfranchised on the left to run with him, and it could be formidable. I've said, though, politics begins at home. the municipality, the little areas that you live in, right? Doesn't matter where you are. From Seattle to Sacramento, right? From Florida to California, your little area, Tampa, doesn't matter. Jacksonville, doesn't matter. That's where it starts. And the grassroots opportunity to build something here is real. And it begins with us. It absolutely begins with us. And he says something right here that I have been preaching and I've been talking about, which is this, just what I was talking about a second ago, which is this we don't, like, listen to any of the ads that you're hearing playing. A majority of the ads you hear playing during this time of year as we run up into election is what? It's a 30-second ad with 25 seconds of negativity, maybe one little second of something positive that you may bring, and then I approve of this message. Where is it? Hire me, because I'm going to go and do the things that I think should be done. I'm going to work my butt off for you, and I'm not going to make promises out there that are so ridiculous, because I'm not a magician, but I can at least give you my honesty and my hard work, which is what you want out there. And instead it's, this person sucks. They're horrible. They're going to take this away. They're going to destroy you. They're coming for this. They're coming for that.
Negative populism doesn't work. Positive populism can. If you sit with 100 people who have difficulty and you blame somebody else, you'll get nothing done. But if you look at them and say, why don't we together build a bridge to a better tomorrow, you can have optimism. And the fact is, rather than people venting so much anger at those up top, why don't we make a commitment to the problems that exist where we live? People think they don't matter enough. Guess what? They do matter.
Yeah, they do. And I love that. I absolutely love what he said right there. And one of the reasons negativity works somewhat is because, as we all know, negativity is so much easier than being positive. Negativity is so easy. It's so easy to point out everybody else's flaws, everybody else's warts, thinking we don't have any. Oh, we do. All of us do. I have them, you have them, we all have them. But negativity is so much easier. And that's the sad thing. And negativity is on both sides of the aisle. Listen to Chuck Schumer. Listen to Nancy Pelosi. Listen to the left. All they do is just tear down, tear down, tear down, tear down, tear down. Perfect example. Blumenthal right now talking about Kavanaugh. He holds an anti-Kavanaugh rally and says, well, I haven't got any paperwork, all the necessary paperwork that I want to see and read from him about some of his stuff that he's done. But he's holding an anti-Kavanaugh rally. And he hasn't got all the stuff that he thinks he needs to sit down and make a serious judgment on him. Come on. It's all negative. Negative, 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 because it's so much easier. You have a bad steak, you're going to tell 10 people. You have a great steak, you'll tell one. Why? For whatever reason, misery loves company, and we like to tell everybody how horrible things go.
Negativity has always been a quick fix in politics. There's nothing new. But boy, is it on fire right now. And I know that you're making a different fight, but you're going to need a lot more to join with you, because the politics of negativity have taken hold right now, and they're doing very well for the president in this regard. His numbers are coming up. The economy is strong.
But you know what, Chris Cuomo? The left lives with negativity. The right lives with negativity. The media lives with negativity. Opportunity now, whether it's locally in a small area, right, where you have a chance to do something, or it's maybe bigger and eventually nationally, I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I do. And I tell you what, it's time. It's time that both, and the thing is, with this opportunity that I think is in front of us, I will tell you this right now. I think it will put both parties on notice, and that, to me, makes me smile, because I think both parties have good ideas, and I think both parties have bad ideas. But we don't know anything about any of their good ideas or them working together and acting like adults, because it's all about sound bites about how horrible the other side is.
Wait a minute, Chris. The Republican Party has shrunk from 31 or 33% down to about 28. The politics of negativity is turning people off. They don't want any more of it. So while the numbers are good within the party has shrunk. We're now seeing a drift in both parties, the Democrats being far left. You're seeing more and more independents. The independents represent disaffected Democrats and disaffected Republicans, and that's what we need to understand. There is a great middle.
There is. And it's the alt middle. And I think we have a louder voice, and we need to start using the voice. Because right now we're standing around while everybody else argues, screams and shouts, talks about how their way is the only way, when the reality is it's not. And we need to make our voice heard. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program always as well. Things are getting more expensive in life. We know that. You know that. I know that. How do you protect yourself in the event of a what if? Now, in particular, I'm talking about your car, right? Car Shield is how. Car Shield is amazing. Extended vehicle protection from Car Shield makes the process of fixing your car for a cover repair super easy, and it really does. A lot of times in life, I love my car. My warranty, I don't have a warranty, but I've got Car Shield. So if something was to happen to my car, I call Car Shield. It gets handled. How does it get handled? Well, first, they have 24/7 roadside assistance. Secondly, if my car is in the shop, let's say it's there for 3 days, I get a rental car for free. What? Yeah. Car Shield takes care of that for you. And then I get to choose the shop. I found a great mechanic that I really like. If something happens, I take it there. They get it handled. It's amazing. I trust the mechanic, and it's the mechanic I choose. You can take it to the dealership if you want to. They get it handled to get them paid directly. So the what ifs, well, take this what if away, sleep a little easier, have peace of mind, get extended vehicle protection from CarShield like I did. Call 800-CAR-6100, mention code Benson, or visit carshield.com. Use code Benson to save 10%. That's carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%, or call 800-CAR-6100 and use that code Benson to save yourself 10%. A deductible may apply. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. The New York Times. What are you doing? Chad Benson Show.
Feel free to punk this punk rocker any time of the day or night. Reach Chad on Twitter at Chad Benson Show and on Instagram at Chad Benson Show. And oh yeah, the Chad Benson Show on Facebook too. Punk that.
If I lost every vote, we would have won the state of Pennsylvania. And the fake news refused to call it, right?
Fake news! Trump last night, Pennsylvania, talking about what Trump does, making America great again. He likes the rallies. Look, because you go and you're in front of the people that support you. It's an energizing. He feeds off them, they feed off him, and I have no problem with that. I mean, there are many politicians out there, and I thought Obama was one who, and Bill Clinton as well. A lot of times, politicians love the campaigning side, right? To them, it's almost like it's a performance. They love to get out there, and that's part of the thing they probably love best. When you ask what do you like, I like the performing side of it all. The performing side of it all is great. I like getting out there. I like talking. I like doing all of those things. To a lot of people, that's what they enjoy. But for Trump, while he loves it and he's holding a lot of these rallies, this is another one of those things where this is what drives me crazy about Trump. This right here, right? I can get behind the economic news. I can get behind that. You guys can talk about Obama all you want. This is his economy. This is his economy. No, let me tell you something. This is Trump's economy right now. At this point in time, this is Trump's economy. But then you get this, and this to me is the thing that drives me crazy.
They can make anything bad because they are the fake, disgusting news.
Disgusting. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. And you got your daughter out, right? Because he's called him the enemy of the people, and he's done all these things. And these are the things that drive me crazy. And I get it, right? I understand why he gets frustrated with them, because then you get stuff like, she comes out and says, no, they're not the enemy of the people. But she also says, look, people have written stories about me that aren't very cool. And I understand why he does it, because let's talk about what's news and what's not news. Because anymore, I think there's where we need to start figuring out what is news and what is opinion. Because we've lumped everything in. I'm opinion. I'm not news. I'm not a journalist. Opinion and news are separate things. They'll say stuff like, Mika, she's a journalist. She's not a journalist.
He's not well. That's the bottom line. There's no way anyone who knows Donald Trump but is not bought in some way could watch him and not come away with a feeling that the President of the United States is completely unhinged and getting worse by the day. Perhaps the stress is really squeezing in.
That's the stuff where I get the fake news side of stuff. But let's not. That's opinion. That's talking heads. It's not journalism. We need to figure out where it is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Let's talk journalism. Straight ahead, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
So the New York Times is trying to spin it all kinds of ways. The reality is they're not going to get rid of Sarah Jeong, who is somebody who is going to be their tech writer. And she's got some issues, right? She has got some issues. And let me tell you about equality. We're not going to achieve full equality in life. First of all, we're not all equal. Can we just talk about that for 1 second? Not everything is equal in life. And I'm not talking about, I'm just talking about just on the surface of it. Some people are tall, some people have are good looking, some people, so because there's so many factors going into certain things. But the right is angry about the things that she tweeted about, and we'll touch on that in a second. But when I look at equality across the board, what I want is let's start having equality across the board in responsibility, right? And because I think we should all take full responsibility. I think too often we create victims and allow them to get away with things, even though in truth they really weren't victims. And we need to have accountability and responsibility to be equal. And it needs to be. So if you don't know who she is, she's a tech writer, and most of you don't probably read the New York Times. I am a subscriber to the New York Times, part of the business that I do. This really, when I saw what she wrote, it's awful. And by the way, there are more things out there that she wrote that we'll touch on in a second that aren't getting touched upon by the right. But the things that she wrote that were race-based, this is where accountability and responsibility. What did I say yesterday about Twitter? Twitter is now part of the resume of your life. And think about that. She's not being punished. They've decided not to get rid of her. And the New York Times, this horrible excuse of why they're going to keep her. And it makes you just, it makes you cringe because there's no accountability and personal responsibility on a level playing field. And that, to me, is crap. That's where I lost any little shred of respect I had for the publication, because I think there are some good writers on there who haven't become opinion heads, who haven't become people that, for all intents and purposes, their writing takes a back seat. Their writing is just to get them on television anymore and sell them books more than it is anything else. But she I'm sorry. There's no accountability in the things that she's done and said. And there's I haven't heard much personal responsibility in what she said and what she tweeted.
Yesterday, the Times announced it was hiring a woman called Sarah Zhang to write about technology for the paper. Within hours, readers discovered Zhang's Twitter feed, which she had not bothered to delete, apparently because she was not embarrassed by it. Judging by what she wrote on Twitter, Sarah Zhang is an angry bigot, and not in a subtle way. Here are some examples of her tweets. Quote, "Oh man, it's kind of sick how much joy I get out of being cruel to old white men." Another, quote, "Dumbass effing white people marking up the internet with their opinions like dogs peeing on fire hydrants." Another, quote, "Hashtag cancel white people."
Yeah. Yeah. But Chad, you're a white man and you, what? Stop. And this is one thing we have to get past in this country. I didn't do anything to you. You didn't do anything to me. You didn't suffer at my hands. I didn't get ahead because I made you suffer. The past is the past. We are angry and upset in fighting over things that people long ago fought over that we weren't around when it was going on. And the people who are suffering today are saying we're suffering because of that. No. No, wrong. Enough of that. It doesn't get us anywhere. It doesn't. Well, white men suck. Shut up. Shut up. Enough of that. If that's how you feel, I don't care. I don't care. And she's a bigot, not a racist. Totally different thing. Right? Racism's really kind of seen as it's power. Having power. Bigot, essentially, you don't like a white person, right? You don't like a black person. You don't like a Hispanic person. You can be bigoted towards a race. But if there's no power, then that's all that you are. The New York Times, and for transparency here, by the way, guys, and I don't know if you saw this, producer Phil, or anybody else did, she said some horrible things about Krugman and Friedman and horrible things about what kind of drugs are they on. These are big-time journalists who are now celebrity journalists. Like, why don't, how can you shut this guy up? This guy's got 2 brain cells and that's it. I mean, she said some horrible things about them, and now she's working with them. So imagine what that's going to be like right there. And by the way, they're old white men as well.
Well, people are getting fired for far less than this across corporate America right now, but the New York Times decided to double down on Sarah Zhang's behalf. Here's part of the statement the paper sent out about her. Quote, "Zhang's journalism and the fact she is a young Asian woman have made her a subject of frequent online harassment. For a period of time, she responded to that harassment by imitating the rhetoric of her harassers. In other words, it's not her fault. White racism caused Sarah Zhang's racism against white people. She's the victim here. Harvard graduate, oppressed person that she is."
You want to be equal? Then we're going to treat everybody equal. Shouldn't it be that way? Now, I never advocate for people to get fired. I don't think she should get fired. I'm not advocating that. That's up to the New York Times, right? That's up to them. I mean, the thing she said about people that she's going to be working with alone is going to make it an uncomfortable situation. I don't care that she's an Asian woman. That does nothing for me. I care more about what's in your mind and your thought process than what you identify with as a gender or as a race. But the New York Times missed an opportunity here. It is ridiculous. And yeah, if we're going to be equal, then let's level this playing field. Everybody's starting from a clean slate. Everybody's got the opportunity right here to let's start having accountability. I'll give her some transgressions. You know what? It's hard not to fire back at some trolls, and I'm sure some of that was trolls, but not all of it. Not all of it. You got to learn to mute it. But the excuse you make about her shows you that you've really lost any opportunity to say we're a credible news source. When we've seen in other news sources, Kevin Williamson and several other people who've lost their positions because of tweets that were far more benign than this. But the reality is the reality. And if you're a white person, particularly a male, it's open season on you. It is. Because as far as a lot of people on the left are concerned, is all you are is an oppressor, and you've turned the rest of the world into victims. And it's ridiculous. It absolutely is. Stop blaming me and other people for your shortcomings. Because, by the way, most white people I know aren't living it high on the hog, smoking cigars, burning with $100 bills. Well, not everybody thinks, when they think white person, everybody thinks it's all Paul Manafort, right? Because he is now the face of evil and money and greed in this country. That's not the truth, right? We've got to get past the victim mentality. And what did the New York Times do? They made her a victim. They made her a victim. It's ridiculous. It really is. It is absolutely ridiculous. And we cannot say, let's hold everybody accountable when we're going to take away and discount any accountability this person is going to have here because we've made them a victim over something. I get trolls every day that say, I got a troll yesterday that started with, you are a blankety blankety blank. And then you're a liar and all of this other stuff. And then it goes into what they didn't like about what I said. And I get several of those a day. And you just got to learn to live, just go, it is what it is. But instead, they turned her into a victim. And trust me, you don't think you want to fire back? I'm sure people want to fire back all the time. I mean, now, KD, basketball player, Kevin Durant, my God. He needs to stay off Twitter and Instagram and stuff because he fires back all the time. Somebody's got eight followers, says something about you, and you go and attack them. Let it go. But the victimization mentality is far bigger than that. Accountability should be across the board. Do you think she's changed her ways? Do you think she likes white people? She's going to be working with them. And she said a lot more things about white people that were horrible. Normally, as producer Anthony and I were talking about, normally this is another white person who would be saying horrible things about, their race, which, because, or their kind, if you will, because it's their guilt. She's an Ivy League educated woman who probably enjoys her Starbucks or her frappe or whatever it is, writes about tech, working for the New York Times and has worked for several other publications, and somehow in some way she's a victim. That's what they're painting her, and that is ridiculous. It really, really is.
That's the attitude. It's not hard to guess where ideas like that wind up. We've seen it. All of us should be afraid of it. All of us, regardless of color. There are plenty of examples in history of what happens when people start thinking this way, and they're all sad. It's awful. And yet this is the mindset the left has imposed on our country. It's an attitude designed to dehumanize the individual, to erase what makes each of us interesting and distinct and vital, and reduce us to faceless members of a group. It's totalitarian. We ought to resist it with everything that we have.
Tucker Carlson right there. I will say this. I get the New York Times. I'm not going to cancel it because there are a few people in there that I enjoy to read. And but when you do something like this, you sit back and you say to yourself, you've lost the plot, and the victimization in this nation and the lack of accountability and responsibility by people, and how people will say the only reason this person did this is because they were a victim, and so it gives them a right to do this, is a bunch of crap. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. You can do it all the time. Love it when you do. You can tweet your hate, your love. You can text your hate and your love. And I try to reply to everybody. even when they're mean to me, right? Because I'm okay with that. I'm not that kind of person, right? I got a beautiful life. 323-538-2423. Dollar Shave Club, amazing. I use it every single day. You should do the same thing. You're sitting there and you're saying to yourself, Chad talks about Dollar Shave Club. Says it's $5, free shipping. That sounds easy. The razors are amazing. 6-blade executive razors are great. But he talks about the body wash. How good is it? Amazing. Shampoo, conditioner, incredible. The hair stuff, absolutely fantastic. Toothpaste, toothbrush, love it. $5, really, Chad? That's what it gets to start. Membership, free shipping. Oh, tell me more. Top shelf ingredients, not going to break your budget. You're going to love everything you get. I talked about it all right there. Let me tell you what you start with the Daily Essential Starter Set, okay? You're going to get the world-famous Dr. Carver Shave Butter, Body Cleanser, One Wipe Charlie's, the 6-blade executive razor, which is incredible, a few extra bucks a month. That's going to come to you, and they do it all with free shipping. Why don't you throw in some hair care products, right? Some gel or paste. Absolutely fantastic. You'll be sold. You'll come back for more, and more. It's great. $5, free shipping. Join today. DollarShaveClub.com/Chad. 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 At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. We've got your useless fact of the day straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
A bird in the hand is worth 140 on Twitter, so tweet your beak off at Chad Benson Show Twitter. And if instant gratification is your thing, hit Chad up on Instagram at Chad Benson. Your bird will thank you.
Somebody just texted in and says, Chad, hasn't there already been a precedent where people do stuff like this and they get fired? Yes, if they're on the right or they're white. That's the only precedent. So you've got Sarah Young, who has said all these things and tweeted all these things, if you will, that said all these things. I'm sure she said them too, and tweeted at them. That's different. She's an Asian woman. Totally different. And by the way, the left holds itself accountable when it comes to certain things. We saw that with Jamie Gunn recently. Disney's, Guardians of the Galaxy director was fired for tweeting and doing things. And I'm not saying people don't tweet. And the dangerous thing about tweeting is we say something. Sometimes we get to the point where we're tweeting all the time, and whatever's on our mind, we tweet. And that can be a danger. And people say, Chad, why don't you tweet more? Why don't you do stuff like that more? And I'm just like, because at the point in time that we're living in, it only takes one or two for issues for, before people say, oh, we just can't do this anymore. And that's sad, because a lot of times it's somebody says, well, I find it offensive. Well, 1 million people didn't find it offensive, but one does. And so we're going to allow the one to do everything. And it's dangerous. It is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Car Shield's amazing. If you've got a car, you're worried about the what ifs with your car, warranty's expired, get Car Shield. You don't have to worry about the what ifs. You can drive your car around with confidence knowing that should something happen to it, it breaks down. Next thing you know, you need a new engine. Car Shield's there in a jiff to help you out. Sensors go out. That's $1,000. Car Shield's got you covered. Car Shield gives you 24/7 roadside assistance. A rental car for free while your car's getting fixed, and you get to choose that shop the car goes to. They get them paid directly. Take it to the dealership, your favorite mechanic. That's why I love Car Shield. It's that peace of mind, and we could all use a little peace of mind. Get extended vehicle protection like I did before it's too late. Call 800-CAR-6100. That's 800-CAR-6100. Use my code Benson. That will save you 10%. You can go online, carshield.com. Carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. And again, Car Shield is incredible. The peace of mind you get from Car Shield is absolutely amazing. Carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. Solid fun show today. Got your useless fact of the day. The word Pez, that candy we love so much, actually comes from the German word for peppermint, which is Pfefferminz. Pfefferminz. Preffermiz. Pfeffermin. Pez. That's where they get it from. stuck in your head now, isn't it, kids? Have yourself a safe, wonderful, amazing weekend. Back here to do it again on Monday. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.